The obsidian citadel hung in the darkness of space like a black blade pointed at the stars. It was the heart of the Deathworld Alliance, a place where the most dangerous species in the galaxy gathered to discuss war, trade, and survival. No soft species had ever set foot inside its walls. Until today, Captain Jake Morris stood at the viewport of his ship, the horizon's edge, and watched the station grow larger. Behind him, his crew prepared for what might be the strangest diplomatic mission in human history. "Are you sure about this?" asked Lieutenant Danny Cole, his communications officer. The young man looked nervous, and Jake could not blame him. They were about to walk into a room full of creatures that had evolved on planets where everything wanted to kill everything else. "No," Jake admitted. "But Earth Command thinks this is a good idea, so here we are." Dr. Amy Chen Williams checked the specially designed habitat container one more time. Inside, something moved and made a small sound. She smiled and closed the lid gently. "He is ready." A little sleepy from the journey, but ready. Katie Brooks, the ship's veterinarian, stood beside her. "I still cannot believe we are doing this. When they told me what the gift would be, I thought it was a joke." Jake turned away from the viewport. The Alliance expects every new member species to present a gift. The Korathi brought weapons. The Velox brought rare minerals. The Manthari brought combat drones. "We are bringing something different. Something that might get us killed," Danny muttered. "Or something that might change everything," Amy replied. The docking procedure took 20 minutes. When the airlock opened, Jake led his team into a corridor made of black metal. The air was cold and smelled like iron. Armed guards stood at every corner, each one from a different species. Jake saw a reptilian Korathi with scales like armor. He saw a spider-like Velox with 8 legs and fangs dripping with venom. He saw insectoid Manthari covered in natural plating that could stop bullets. None of them looked friendly. A Korathi officer met them at the entrance to the council chamber. He was nearly 3 meters tall, with yellow eyes that studied the humans like they were insects. "You are smaller than we expected," the officer said. His voice was deep and rough. "We get that a lot," Jake replied calmly. The council chamber was enormous. A circular room with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from every Deathworld species sat watching as the humans walked in. At the highest point sat High Commander Vexter, the leader of the Alliance. He was the largest Korathi Jake had ever seen, covered in battle scars, with teeth like knives. "Humans," Vexter said, and his voice echoed through the chamber. "You have been granted provisional membership in our alliance. Your planet has proven itself worthy. Class 7 Deathworld status. Impressive for such small creatures." Jake bowed his head slightly. "We are honored, High Commander. Now you must present your gift. Every species does this. The gift shows us what you value. What you believe makes you strong." Vexter leaned forward. "What have you brought us?" Jake looked at Amy. She nodded and stepped forward with the habitat container. Every eye in the room focused on it. Weapons were quietly moved into ready positions. These species had survived extinction-level events. They did not trust easily. Amy set the container on the ground and opened the lid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a small golden head poked out. 2 brown eyes looked around the room with curiosity. A pink tongue hung out of a smiling mouth. A tail began to wag. Biscuit, the golden retriever puppy, climbed out of the container and sat on the council floor, looking up at the assembled warriors with pure, innocent joy. The chamber went completely silent. High Commander Vexter stood up slowly. His claws extended. His eyes narrowed. "What is this?" "This is a dog," Jake said. "Specifically, a 3-month-old golden retriever. His name is Biscuit. He is our gift to the Alliance." The silence stretched. Jake could feel the tension in the room rising. Hundreds of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy were staring at a fluffy puppy who was now chewing on his own paw. "Is this an insult?" Vexter demanded. "Do you mock us? Do you think we are fools?" "No, High Commander. This is a genuine gift. Dogs have been companions to humans for over 15,000 years. They are loyal, loving, and they bring comfort and happiness to those who care for them. Companions?" A new voice spoke. Ambassador Zryketh, the spider-like Velox diplomat, leaned forward on her 8 legs. Her voice was soft and dangerous. "You bring us a pet? We are warriors. We are conquerors. We do not need pets." "With respect, Ambassador, you might be surprised," Amy said. "Biscuit here has no weapons, no armor, no poison. But he has something none of your weapons can provide. Unconditional love." General Trock, the insectoid Manthari military leader, made a sound like grinding metal. "Love does not win wars." "Maybe not," Jake agreed. "But it makes the time between wars worth living." Biscuit, completely unaware of the tension around him, spotted something interesting. His ears perked up. His tail wagged faster. He had seen Ambassador Zryketh's legs, and they looked very interesting to sniff. Before anyone could react, the puppy bounded across the council floor directly toward the Velox ambassador. Zryketh froze. Her species were apex predators. Nothing had ever approached her without fear. Nothing had ever run toward her with joy. Biscuit reached her and sniffed at one of her legs. Then he sat down, looked up at her with his big brown eyes, and wagged his tail. Zryketh did not move. She could not move. In 300 years of life, she had never experienced anything like this. A creature with no defenses, no fear, no weapons, was sitting at her feet and looking at her with complete trust. "What is it doing?" she whispered. Katie stepped forward slowly. "He likes you. He wants to be your friend." "Friend?" Zryketh repeated the word like she had never heard it before. High Commander Vexter sat back down. His claws retracted. The anger in his eyes had been replaced by something else. Confusion, curiosity, and something he could not name. "Explain this creature," he ordered. "Tell us everything, and do not leave out any details." Jake allowed himself a small smile. The first step had been taken. Now they just had to survive what came next. On the council floor, Biscuit yawned and lay down next to Zryketh's legs. Within seconds, he was asleep. And for the first time in recorded history, the Deathworld Alliance Council had absolutely no idea what to do. By the 5th day, on Obsidian Citadel, Captain Jake Morris noticed something strange happening. The corridors near the human quarters were always busy now. Warriors who had no reason to be in that section found excuses to walk past. Diplomats scheduled meetings in nearby rooms. Even maintenance workers seemed to take longer than necessary when repairing things close to where Biscuit was kept. Everyone wanted to see the puppy. Katie Brooks kept careful records of the visitors. She was a scientist at heart, and this was fascinating data. The most dangerous beings in the galaxy were finding reasons to stand near a window and watch a golden retriever chew on a toy. "This is getting out of hand," Danny Cole said during their morning meeting. "I counted 37 different species passing by our door yesterday. Some of them walked by more than once. They are curious," Dr. Amy said. "Most of them have never seen anything like Biscuit. He represents something completely outside their experience." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "We should use this. Let them interact with him more. The more they understand dogs, the better our diplomatic position becomes." That afternoon, they took Biscuit for a walk through the common areas of the station. It was like walking with a celebrity. Hardened warriors stopped in their tracks. Conversation died as the puppy trotted past. Some beings pressed themselves against walls to give him room, as if afraid of what might happen if they got too close. Biscuit, of course, wanted to meet everyone. He pulled at his leash constantly, trying to sniff every new creature he saw. His tail never stopped wagging. To him, the station was the most exciting place in the universe, full of new friends waiting to be made. General Truck found them in the observation lounge. The insectoid general had been avoiding them for days, watching from a distance but never approaching. Today, something had changed. He walked directly toward them, his armored body moving with military precision. "Captain Morris," he said, "I wish to understand something." "Of course, General." Truck looked down at Biscuit, who immediately sat and looked up at him with eager eyes. "This creature follows you. Wherever you go, it tries to go with you. When you left the quarters this morning, it cried at the door until you returned for it." "Yes," Jake said. "Dogs form strong attachments to their people. Being separated causes them distress. Why would any creature choose such weakness? To need another so much that separation brings pain? This is a flaw in design." Katie knelt down beside Biscuit and scratched his ears. The puppy leaned into her hand with obvious pleasure. "It is not weakness, General. It is love, and it goes both ways. When I'm separated from Biscuit, I feel sad too. I worry about him. I want to be with him. You choose to feel this pain? We choose the connection that sometimes causes pain, because the joy of being together is worth more than the fear of being apart." Truck stood very still. His compound eyes studied the puppy with an intensity that would have frightened most creatures. But Biscuit just wagged his tail and tried to sniff the General's leg. "I do not understand," Truck admitted quietly, "but I am beginning to think I want to." That evening, the incident happened. A routine alarm sounded across the station. It was just a drill, a test of the emergency systems that happened regularly. But the sound was loud and sharp, unlike anything Biscuit had ever heard. The puppy panicked. He pulled free of his collar and ran. Katie screamed his name and chased after him, but Biscuit was fast when he was scared. He disappeared around the corner before she could catch him. Within seconds, the situation escalated. Katie called Jake. Jake called station security. Station security contacted High Commander. Vexter Dot, and then something happened that had never happened before in the history of Obsidian Citadel. The entire Deathworld. Alliance military mobilized to find a lost puppy. It was not an official order. No one commanded them to search. But somehow, word spread through the station like fire. The human gift was missing. The small golden creature was lost and scared somewhere in the massive station. Warriors left their posts. Diplomats abandoned meetings. Scientists stepped away from experiments. Within 10 minutes, over 1,000 of the deadliest beings in the galaxy were searching for Biscuit. Jake found General Truck crawling through a maintenance duct, calling the puppy's name in a surprisingly gentle voice. Ambassadors Ryketh had organized search teams with military efficiency. Even species that had been enemies for centuries were working together, checking every corner and every shadow. "This is remarkable," Danny said quietly to Amy as they watched the search. "They have never cooperated like this. Never." "Because they never had a reason to," Amy replied. "Now they do." Counselor Yenna found Biscuit. The Selvari warrior had tracked him to a cargo bay deep in the station. She found him huddled behind some containers, shaking and whimpering. His eyes were wide with fear. He had never been so scared or so alone. Yenna's instincts told her to pounce. Her biology demanded she take advantage of weak prey. For a moment, the predator inside her stirred, but then Biscuit looked up at her. His eyes met hers. He was terrified. He was vulnerable. He needed help. Yenna did something her species had never done in recorded history. She lay down on the cold metal floor, making herself as small as possible. She pulled her claws back. She relaxed her body. She became as non-threatening as a deadly Selvari hunter could become. And she waited. Biscuit watched her for a long moment. His tail was tucked tight. His body was still shaking. But slowly, very slowly, he began to creep toward her dot. It took 5 minutes. 5 minutes of Yenna lying perfectly still, barely breathing, waiting for a frightened puppy to trust her. When Biscuit finally crawled into her arms, Yenna felt something she had no word for. It was warm and strange and terrifying in a completely new way. The tiny creature pressed against her chest, seeking comfort, seeking safety. He chose to trust her when he had every reason to run. She carried him back to the humans in complete silence. When she handed him to Katie, her paws were trembling slightly. "Thank you," Katie said, tears in her eyes. Yenna nodded once. Then she turned and walked away quickly, before anyone could see what was happening to her face. That night, High Commander Vexter called an emergency council meeting. But it was not about war or trade or survival. "Something has changed," he announced. "I do not understand it. I do not know if I like it. But something has changed in this station. In all of us." No one argued. No one could. Somewhere in the human quarters, Biscuit slept peacefully, surrounded by people who loved him. And outside the door, a Selvari counselor sat in the shadows, watching over him until morning. Ambassador Ryketh had not moved for 10 minutes. The golden retriever puppy was still sleeping at her feet, and she was terrified to wake him. This was strange because Ryketh had never been terrified of anything in her entire life. She had killed creatures 10 times her size. She had survived the poisonous swamps of her homeworld. She had negotiated with warlords who ate their enemies, but this small, fluffy thing had defeated her completely. "Why does it not run?" she asked quietly. "Every creature runs from me. Even my own kind keeps their distance. Why does this one stay?" Dr. Amy Chen Williams approached slowly, keeping her movements calm and gentle. "Because Biscuit does not know he should be afraid of you. Dogs read emotions, not appearances. He can sense that you mean him no harm, so he trusts you." "I could kill him with one strike," Ryketh said. "Yes, you could. But you will not. And he knows that." Around the council chamber, the other representatives watched this exchange with great interest. General Trock, the insectoid Manthari leader, was studying the puppy like it was some new kind of weapon he needed to understand. Counselor Yenna, the feline Selvari warrior, watched with her golden eyes narrowed, her tail flicking back and forth. High Commander Vexter raised his massive clawed hand. "We will have a full analysis of this creature. I want to know its biology, its behavior, its purpose. The humans will explain everything." Captain Jake Morris nodded. "Of course, High Commander. Katie, if you would." Katie Brooks stepped forward. She had prepared for this moment. She knew she was about to tell a room full of warriors something that would confuse them deeply. "Dogs are descended from wolves," she began. "Thousands of years ago, wolves and humans formed a partnership. Wolves helped humans hunt. Humans shared food with wolves. Over time, the wolves changed. They became dogs. They became part of our families." "You invited predators into your homes?" Trock asked. His mandibles clicked with surprise. "Yes, and then we bred them to be gentler, kinder, more friendly. Biscuit here is the result of thousands of years of that process. He's bred specifically for companionship. He has no weapons. His teeth are small. His claws are dull. He cannot hunt. He cannot fight. He exists only to be loved and to give love in return." The council was silent. This information was difficult for them to process. Every species in the Deathworld Alliance had evolved through violence. Their histories were written in blood. The idea of deliberately creating something soft and harmless was almost impossible to understand. "This is weakness," Counselor Yenna said finally. Her voice was smooth and dangerous. "On my world, we do not tolerate weakness. We eat the weak. Do you?" Jake asked calmly. "Then, why are you still watching him instead of attacking?" Yenna's eyes flashed with anger, but she did not respond. Jake was right. Something about the puppy made her hesitate. Something she could not explain. Biscuit woke up at that moment. He yawned widely, showing his small pink tongue and tiny teeth. Then he looked up at Zryketh, and his tail began to wag again. He stood up on shaky puppy legs and walked in a circle around her, sniffing at her other legs with great interest. "What does it want?" Zryketh asked, her voice higher than usual. "He is exploring," Amy explained. "Dogs learn about the world through smell. You smell new and interesting to him. He is trying to understand you. It cannot possibly understand me. I am one of the most complex beings in this galaxy. And yet he understands the most important thing. He knows you will not hurt him. That is all he needs to know." Biscuit finished his investigation and sat down again. This time, he put one paw on Zryketh's leg and looked up at her face. His tail wagged slowly. His eyes were warm and trusting. Something inside Zryketh shifted. It was a small thing, like a wall developing a tiny crack. She did not understand it. She did not like it, but she could not make it go away. "I request," she said slowly, "that the humans explain more about this creature. In private. In my quarters." Vexthor raised one brow ridge. This was unusual behavior for the cold and calculating Velox ambassador. But he nodded his permission. Over the next 3 days, the humans answered questions. Endless questions. Every species wanted to know more about dogs. They wanted to understand how a Deathworld like Earth could produce something so gentle. They wanted to know why humans had chosen this path. Danny Cole found himself explaining the concept of emotional support to General Trock, whose species abandoned their young at birth. The General listened in complete silence as Danny described how dogs could sense human sadness and try to comfort them. "They feel what you feel?" Trock asked. "In a way, yes. They can read our emotions. When we are sad, they try to make us happy. When we are scared, they stay close to protect us. Even though they are small, even though they cannot really fight off danger, they try anyway." Trock was quiet for a long time. "My species does not form attachments," he said finally. "We are born alone. We live alone. We die alone. It is the way of strength, is it?" Danny asked gently. "Or is it just the way of survival? Those are not always the same thing." Meanwhile, Katie spent hours with Ambassador Zryketh, teaching her how to interact with Biscuit. The Velox ambassador was a quick learner, though her movements were awkward at first. She had never tried to be gentle before. It was not a skill her people valued, but Biscuit was patient. He wagged his tail at every attempt. He licked her leg when she got close. He fell asleep in her presence like she was the safest creature in the universe. "Why does he trust me so completely?" Zryketh asked one evening. "He does not know me. He does not know what I have done, the lives I have ended, the worlds I have conquered." Katie thought about her answer carefully. Dogs do not judge by the past. They judge by the present. Right now, in this moment, you are kind to him. That is all that matters to him. Zryketh looked down at the sleeping puppy. The crack inside her grew a little wider. On the third night, something happened that no one expected. Captain Jake was returning to the human quarters when he saw a massive shadow in the corridor. High Commander Vexthor was standing outside their door, looking through the window at Biscuit, who was playing with a toy inside, the fearsome leader of the Deathworld. Alliance was watching a puppy play. Jake approached quietly. "High Commander?" Vexthor did not look away from the window. "This creature makes no sense," It has no purpose, no function, no value in any way we measure value. And yet I cannot stop thinking about it. That is how dogs work, Jake said softly. They get inside your head, and then they get inside your heart. Vexter finally turned to look at Jake. His yellow eyes were troubled. I have led armies. I have destroyed fleets. I have brought entire civilizations to their knees. But this small thing has done something to me that no enemy ever could. What is that? It has made me want to protect something instead of destroy it. Jake smiled. Welcome to being a dog person, High Commander. Inside the quarters, Biscuit looked up from his toy. He saw Vexter through the window, and his tail wagged furiously. The most powerful being in the Alliance. The most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. And a puppy who just wanted to be friends. 1 week after the humans arrived on Obsidian Citadel, High Commander Vexter called a special council session. The topic was unusual. It was not about military strategy or trade agreements or territorial disputes. The official agenda simply read, "The Biscuit situation." Captain Jake Morris stood before the council with his crew, wondering what would happen next. The mood in the chamber was strange. These warriors who had faced death countless times seemed almost nervous. Vexter spoke first. "We have a problem. Productivity across the station has dropped significantly. Soldiers are distracted. Diplomats are unfocused. Work schedules are being ignored." Jake tensed. This did not sound good. "Everyone," Vexter continued, "is too busy thinking about the dog." There was a long silence. Then General Trock stood. "I must report similar issues among my troops. Yesterday, 2 of my best officers missed a training session. When I found them, they were standing outside the human quarters, watching the creature play with a rope toy." Ambassador Ryketh nodded slowly. "I have noticed changes in myself as well. I find it difficult to focus on diplomatic matters. My thoughts keep returning to the small one, wondering if he is comfortable, if he has enough food, if he is happy." "This is a crisis," Vexter said, but his voice lacked conviction. He sounded like someone who knew he should be upset but could not quite manage it. Dr. Amy stepped forward. "High Commander, may I speak?" Vexter waved a massive claw. "Proceed. What you are experiencing is normal. Dogs have been scientifically proven to affect the emotions of those around them. They reduce stress. They increase feelings of happiness and calm. They create bonds between individuals who might otherwise never connect." "You are saying this creature is manipulating us?" Trock demanded. "No, Biscuit is not manipulating anyone. He's just being himself. A friendly, loving, trusting puppy who wants everyone to be his friend. Your reactions are your own. He just creates the conditions for those reactions to happen." Counselor Yenna had been silent until now. She stood slowly, her tail flicking behind her. "I must share something with this council. Something that has troubled me since the night the creature was lost." The chamber went quiet. Yenna was known for her cold efficiency. She never shared personal matters. "When I found the small one in the cargo bay, my instincts told me to kill it. It was weak. It was prey. Every part of my biology demanded I strike." She paused. "But I did not. I could not. Something stopped me. Something I have never felt before." "What was it?" Vexter asked quietly. "I do not know the word. But when he looked at me with those eyes, so scared, so helpless, I wanted to protect him. I wanted to keep him safe. I would have killed anyone who tried to hurt him in that moment." Her voice cracked slightly. "I would have died to protect the creature I met 1 week ago." "How is that possible?" The chamber was completely silent. These were warriors who had built their lives on strength and survival. Emotions like Yenna was describing were dangerous. They were weaknesses to be eliminated, but no one called her weak. No one challenged her, because every being in that room understood exactly what she meant. Danny Cole spoke softly. On Earth, we call that love. It does not always make sense. It is not always convenient. But it is the most powerful force humans have ever known. More powerful than weapons? Trock asked, skeptically. Wars are fought with weapons, Danny replied. But civilizations are built with love. Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. The council meeting turned into a discussion about emotions. Warriors shared feelings they had never spoken aloud. Diplomats admitted to vulnerabilities they had hidden for centuries. Species that had been enemies opened up to each other in ways that would have been impossible a week ago, all because of a puppy sleeping in the corner. After the session ended, Vexter requested a private meeting with Jake. The High Commander led him to his personal quarters, a sparse room with few comforts. This was a soldier's space. Captain Morris, Vexter said once they were alone, I need to tell you something, but I must ask that it remain between us. Of course, High Commander. Vexter sat heavily on a simple bench. For the first time, he looked tired. I have commanded the Alliance for 40 years. I have made decisions that shaped the galaxy. I have ordered attacks that killed millions. I have done terrible things in the name of survival and strength. Jake waited silently. But in all that time, I have never felt what I feel now. When I look at your creature, your biscuit, I feel something I cannot name. A warmth, a wanting. I find myself thinking about him at strange moments, wondering if he's happy, hoping he likes me. The most powerful being in the galaxy looked at Jake with genuine confusion in his eyes. Is this love? This thing you humans speak of so easily? Jake sat down across from him. It sounds like it, yes. Is it always like this? This uncomfortable? This distracting? Sometimes. Especially at the beginning. It gets easier. You learn to live with it. Eventually, you cannot imagine living without it. Vexter was quiet for a long moment. His massive claws clenched and unclenched. Then he asked the question that had clearly been building inside him for days. Captain Morris, may I hold him? Jake smiled. I think Biscuit would like that very much. They returned to the human quarters together. Katie brought Biscuit out, and the puppy's tail immediately began wagging at the sight of Vexter. The giant warrior knelt down slowly, carefully, as if approaching an explosive device. How do I... he started. Just let him come to you, Katie said gently. Hold out your hand. Let him sniff you. Move slowly. Vexter extended one massive claw. Biscuit sniffed it thoroughly, then licked it once. His tail wagged faster. Now you can pick him up, Katie said. Support his body. Be gentle. The High Commander of the Deathworld Alliance lifted a 3-month-old golden retriever puppy into his arms. Biscuit looked up at him and yawned. Then the puppy settled against Vexter's chest and closed his eyes. Vexter stood frozen. This small, soft creature was sleeping in his arms, trusting him completely, vulnerable and unafraid. He trusts you, Katie whispered. He should not, Vexter replied. His voice was rough. He does not know what I have done, what I am capable of. He knows what you are now. That is all that matters to him. Vexter looked down at the sleeping puppy. Something in his ancient, scarred face changed, softened. For just a moment, the warlord disappeared, and something else took his place. This is dangerous, he said quietly. This feeling, it makes me want to protect something, to care for something, to be gentle. Is that so bad? Jake asked. Vexter did not answer for a long time. He just stood there, holding a sleeping puppy, looking at something no one else could see. No, he said finally. It is not bad at all. He held Biscuit for another 20 minutes before finally giving him back. And when he left, his walk was different, slower, softer, like a creature who had just discovered something precious and was afraid of breaking it. 2 weeks had passed since the humans arrived on Obsidian Citadel. The diplomatic mission was ending. It was time to return to Earth. Captain Jake Morris prepared his crew for departure. They packed their equipment, organized their notes, and secured the habitat container for Biscuit's journey home. Everything was ready. Then the council summons arrived. Jake had expected a simple farewell ceremony. He was wrong. The council chamber was full when they arrived. Not just full, but packed. Every seat was taken. Beings stood along the walls. More crowded the entrances. It seemed like everyone on the station had come. High Commander Vexter stood at the center platform. His expression was unreadable. "Humans," he announced, his voice carrying through the massive room. "You came to us 2 weeks ago with a gift. A strange gift. A confusing gift. A gift that has caused more chaos on this station than any enemy attack in decades." Jake's heart sank. This was not going well. Your creature has disrupted our schedules. It has distracted our warriors. It has confused our diplomats. It has made hardened soldiers weep and ancient enemies sit together in peace. Vexter paused. The silence was heavy, and now you wish to take it away. Before Jake could respond, Ambassador Ryketh stood. "I formally object to this removal. The creature known as Biscuit has contributed more to Alliance unity than any treaty in our history. His departure would be destabilizing." General Trock rose next. "I second this objection. Since the creature arrived, conflicts between Alliance species have decreased significantly. Arguments that would normally end in violence are being resolved through discussion. This is directly connected to the creature's presence." Counselor Yenna stood silently. She did not speak. She did not need to. Everyone knew how she felt. Jake looked at his crew in confusion. They had expected resistance, but nothing like this. The most powerful military coalition in the galaxy was protesting the removal of a puppy. "High Commander," Jake said carefully, "we are honored that Biscuit has been so well received. But he is not just a diplomatic tool. He is a living creature who needs proper care. He has bonded with Katie. Taking him from her would cause him distress." Vexter nodded slowly. "We understand this, which is why we have a proposal." He gestured to a side door. A team of Korethi engineers entered, carrying something large covered in cloth. They set it down on the platform and removed the covering. It was a habitat, but not like any habitat the humans had built. This was larger, more elaborate, with technology the humans could not even identify. There were temperature controls, air filters, food dispensers, and comfort systems. There was a bed that looked softer than anything on Earth. There were toys and climbing structures and windows that looked out at the stars. "We built this," Vexter said. "All of us. Every species in the Alliance contributed something. The Korathi provided the structure. The Velox designed the climate systems. The Monthari created the security features. The Silvari chose the bedding." Jake stared at the elaborate dog habitat. "You built this for Biscuit?" "We request that Biscuit remain on this station as the first interspecies emotional ambassador. His caretaker would of course stay as well. We would provide everything they need. In exchange, Biscuit would continue his important work of confusing and transforming the Alliance." Katie Brooks stepped forward, tears forming in her eyes. "You want me to stay? Here? With Biscuit?" "Yes," Baxter said. His voice was gentle in a way that would have been impossible 2 weeks ago. "We have learned much from you, Katie Brooks. But there is more we wish to learn. We wish to understand how Earth has created such bonds between species. We wish to learn how to love. General Trock spoke again. I have a request as well. Could humans teach us to domesticate companion animals from our own worlds? We have species that might be suitable, but we do not know how to begin. Dr. Amy felt a smile spreading across her face. This was the moment. This was what they had hoped for without knowing they were hoping for it. You want to create your own dogs? Yes, or whatever our worlds can provide. The Korathi have a small creature called a Thuric. It bonds with its handlers. Perhaps it could become what dogs are to humans. The Velox have silk weavers, Dryketh added quietly. Gentle creatures. They like to be held. Even Yenna contributed. On Selvaris, there are small furry creatures that purr when content. We have always considered them prey. Perhaps we were wrong. Jake looked at his crew. This was bigger than any of them had imagined. The Deathworld Alliance, the most feared military force in the galaxy, was asking humanity to teach them how to love. I will need to contact Earth, Jake said finally. But I believe they will agree. And I volunteer to stay here with Katie to help begin the program. Vexther's scarred face broke into something that might have been a smile. Then let it be recorded. The human gift is accepted. Their provisional membership is hereby made permanent. And a new chapter in Alliance history begins today. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. Different species roared and clicked and sang in their own ways. It was the sound of unity. Later that day, a transmission was sent to Earth. It was a formal request from the Deathworld Alliance. They wanted more dogs. Many more dogs. All breeds. All sizes. As many as Earth could spare. The message included an attachment. It was security footage from the council chamber. The most dangerous warriors in the galaxy were taking turns gently petting a sleeping golden retriever. A massive Korathi warlord was scratching behind Biscuit's ears. A spider-like Velox was carefully stroking his back with one leg. A feline Selvari was playing fetch with him, her tail wagging almost as fast as his Earth command watched the footage. 17 times before they believed it was real. The day before the Horizon's Edge departed for home. Counselor Yenna asked Katie for a favor. She wanted to learn to play fetch with Biscuit properly. They went to an observation deck with a view of the stars. Katie threw the ball. Biscuit chased it. Yenna watched with focused intensity, memorizing every movement. Now you try, Katie said. Yenna took the ball in her claws. She threw it, perhaps a bit too hard. Biscuit raced after it, grabbed it, and brought it back to her. He dropped it at her feet and looked up, tail wagging furiously. Yenna picked up the ball and threw it again. And again. And again. Katie watched the deadly Selvari predator playing with a puppy against the backdrop of 1,000,000 stars. Yenna's tail was wagging too. She probably did not even realize it. How do you feel? Katie asked. Yenna paused, holding the ball while Biscuit bounced impatiently at her feet. She thought about the question seriously. Happy, she said finally. The word sounded strange in her voice, like she had never used it before. I feel happy. Katie smiled. That is how Biscuit works. That is his power. Yenna looked down at the puppy. He has no claws. No teeth to speak of. No armor. No weapons. No. And yet he has conquered us all. Yes. Yenna threw the ball again. Humans are more dangerous than we ever imagined. Katie laughed softly. We prefer to think of it as being more loving. The Selvari counselor considered this as Biscuit returned with the ball. Perhaps, she said, those are the same thing. And somewhere across the galaxy, humanity's reputation changed forever. They were no longer known only as the stubborn survivors of a dangerous world. They were known as the species who conquered the Deathworld alliance, not with weapons or technology or military might, but with a small golden puppy who just wanted to be friends.